The crisp mountain air of Davos, Switzerland, is usually filled with quiet diplomacy and economic forecasts. Each January, the world's most powerful leaders, thinkers, and business titans gather here, seeking consensus and stability amid the snow-capped serenity. For decades, Davos has been a symbol of global cooperation, a place where deals are made quietly and the future is mapped out behind closed doors. This year, President Donald Trump shattered the calm, hijacking the World Economic Forum with a dramatic, headline-grabbing performance. His arrival was anything but subtle, and the anticipation in the air was palpable as he strode into the conference center, all eyes fixed on him. He electrified the atmosphere, challenging the foundations of the post-war international order and pushing his America First doctrine onto the global stage. Delegates who expected routine speeches instead witnessed a direct confrontation with the status quo as Trump's rhetoric echoed through the halls. Trump's speech was a whirlwind of bold claims and controversial proposals, making it clear the old rules no longer applied. He dismissed critics, doubled down on his vision, and left many in the audience stunned by the sheer audacity of his message. He presented himself as a reformer, or dismantler, of the global system, advocating for alliances based on financial contributions and strategic utility. Trump insisted that only those who paid their fair share would have a seat at the table, signaling a sharp break from decades of multilateral cooperation. Traditional institutions like the United Nations and multilateral treaties were dismissed as outdated, in need of radical overhaul. Trump argued that these bodies had failed to adapt to new realities, and that bold, disruptive change was overdue. The climax: Trump unveiled a new international body, the Board of Peace, a pay-to-play council with controversial members and a billion-dollar entry fee. This move stunned many, raising questions about the future of global governance and who would truly have influence in this new order. Combined with a renewed push to purchase Greenland, Trump ensured the only story out of Davos was his. The world's media fixated on his every word, and the traditional agenda was swept aside by his disruptive presence. The world had come to discuss the future. Trump declared it would be built on his terms. In Davos, the old order was shaken and a new, uncertain era was announced with unmistakable force. At the heart of Trump's spectacle was the Board of Peace, a council where permanent membership cost a staggering $1 billion. Its first mission brokered a Gaza ceasefire, but its vague mandate and initial members, Netanyahu, under ICC indictment, and an invited Putin, sparked immediate controversy. Jared Kushner, tasked with the board's Gaza plan, proposed working with Hamas on demilitarization and dividing Gaza into residential and tourism zones. Critics saw this as a real estate scheme, not a peace plan, tone-deaf to Gaza's humanitarian crisis. The board's transactional nature and exclusive membership drew accusations of bypassing established bodies like the UN. It was classic Trump bold branding, deal-making, and disruption over consensus. The Board of Peace wasn't just a new idea, it was a direct challenge to the global peace architecture. The world watched, wary of a club where peace could be bought. Just as the world's elite gathered in Davos, still reeling from the shockwaves of the Board of Peace, another controversy was about to erupt, one that would ripple far beyond the snowy Swiss streets. Donald Trump, never one to shy away from spectacle, revived his ambition to buy Greenland. He called it a small ask for U.S. security, but the implications were anything but small. Trump insisted, incorrectly, that America once owned Greenland and had simply returned it to Denmark after World War II. A claim that baffled historians and diplomats alike. In reality, the U.S. never owned Greenland. Denmark's sovereignty was confirmed in 1933, and American military bases were established there only through careful negotiation and mutual agreement. Trump's historical revisionism ignored decades of international law and alliance, drawing swift condemnation from European leaders who saw the move as both reckless and disrespectful. Danish officials, standing firm, reiterated that Greenland is not for sale, emphasizing their commitment to the island's autonomy and the wishes of its people. The European Union responded forcefully, freezing a major trade deal with the U.S. in protest. For them, Trump's move was destabilizing, a direct affront to NATO principles and the post-war order. For Trump, Greenland represented more than just land. It was a strategic asset, a bargaining chip in a world where borders, in his view, were negotiable, and power meant the right to demand. His gambit, dismissed by many as fantasy or bluster, starkly illustrated his extreme America-first ideology and willingness to upend diplomatic norms. Even the most settled aspects of the global map, he signaled, were up for renegotiation. No alliance or agreement was too sacred to challenge. Allies and adversaries alike were left uneasy, questioning what other international norms might be upended next. Trump's approach was transactional, disruptive, and unapologetically bold, forcing the world to confront a new era of unpredictability in American foreign policy. The world's response was swift: alarm, uncertainty, and a growing sense that the old rules no longer applied. Trump's address at Davos was filled with bold statements and controversial claims, many of which quickly drew criticism and demanded immediate fact-checking from experts and the media alike. His speech, delivered to a global audience, was not just a showcase of his signature bravado, but also a test of the world's willingness to accept his version of reality. Among his most striking assertions, Trump claimed the United States paid nearly 100% of NATO's costs and that he had forced allies to increase their contributions to 5% of GDP, both statements that are simply not true and have been repeatedly debunked by international officials. In reality, the US covers about 15% of NATO's central budget, a figure far from Trump's exaggerated numbers. The 5% target he referenced is not a current requirement, but rather a distant and highly ambitious goal that no member state has agreed to meet in the near future. Trump also claimed the US never benefited from NATO, ignoring the alliance's historic support after the September 11th attacks, when NATO invoked Article 5 for the first and only time, standing in solidarity with America. By painting NATO as a one-sided burden, Trump misrepresented the alliance's deeply reciprocal nature, which has provided security and stability for both the US and its allies for decades. On the topic of energy, Trump dismissed wind power as a scam and falsely claimed that China has no wind farms. In fact, China leads the world in wind energy production, with thousands of turbines powering its cities and industries. He also boasted of $18 trillion in US investments supposedly secured under his leadership. However, official figures show less than $10 trillion in pledges, and even those are not actual investments, but rather projected commitments over several years. Trump further exaggerated the scale of UK oil taxes, confusing profit tax with revenue and misrepresenting the actual financial contributions made by energy companies to the British government. These repeated inaccuracies revealed a leader more interested in spectacle and self-promotion than in presenting facts, leaving many observers questioning his credibility on the world stage. While Trump's narrative resonated strongly with his political base at home, it left many US allies and international delegates at Davos questioning his grasp of global affairs and the accuracy of his statements. The fact-checking was relentless, with journalists and analysts working overtime to correct the record. Yet despite these efforts, Trump's spectacle dominated headlines and shaped the conversation. In the end, Davos became a global stage for Trump's alternative version of world events, highlighting the ongoing struggle between political theater and factual discourse in today's media landscape. Trump's proposal sent shockwaves through the international community, exposing deep divisions. The EU offered cautious engagement with the Board of Peace, but only if it stuck to Gaza and UN resolutions. The UN firmly asserted its unique legitimacy, rejecting any pay-to-play alternative. UK and Irish leaders voiced alarm, especially at the prospect of Putin joining the board. Russia countered by reaffirming support for Palestinians, positioning itself as a champion of international law. The world watched two competing visions for global influence unfold. Trump's Davos drama forced allies to publicly distance themselves, deepening rifts in traditional alliances. As Davos debated peace, Gaza's humanitarian crisis worsened. Over 71,500 killed, 171,000 wounded since October 2023. Families destroyed, society collapsing. Survivors faced freezing temperatures, burning rubbish for heat, and a breakdown of basic services. Israel dismantled UNRWA operations, leaving a massive aid vacuum. The Rafah crossing's reopening offered hope, but aid infrastructure was devastated. Kushner's tourism-focused Gaza plan seemed surreal amid starvation and suffering. For many, The Board of Peace was a grotesque distraction from Gaza's urgent needs. In Gaza, news of the Board of Peace was met with anger and disbelief. Displaced Palestinians called the plan unrealistic and out of touch, seeing Trump and Netanyahu as architects of their suffering. Local NGOs said they weren't consulted. Their demand was simple: end the blockade and military assault. The billion-dollar entry fee felt like an insult, reinforcing the sense of being pawns in a geopolitical game. The board was seen as a tool for powerful interests, not a path to justice or self-determination. Meanwhile, the film The Voice of Hind Rajab highlighted the human cost, contrasting with Davos theatrics. For Palestinians, true peace requires justice and recognition of their rights, not transactional deals. Trump's Davos appearance was a political earthquake, shifting global debates from climate and inequality to his disruptive vision. The EU-US trade freeze over Greenland showed his rhetoric's real-world costs, straining alliances. The Board of Peace exposed fractures in global governance, forcing a reckoning over who mediates conflict. Trump's transactional approach resonated with some, but unsettled many more. His performance turned Davos into a platform for populist disruption, leaving the world more volatile and uncertain. The debates he sparked over sovereignty, alliances, and the price of peace will echo long after the snow melts. Trump's Davos drama defined a new turbulent era in global politics.